Why did Rumi fall off his donkey? This is one of the most important questions to be asking if you're studying Sufism or even if you're studying non-duality. We know Rumi, the mystic Sufi poet, and the story is that he's riding along on his donkey. He's got all of his disciples with him. He was a very important man, an important Muslim scholar. He was very well known, had lots of followers. He's riding along on his donkey with all of his people. My take of it is that he was kind of a snot, as people like that are, I know everything, right? So he's riding along on his donkey with all of his disciples. And he sees Shams of Tabriz out in the square. And Shams is like this ragged, unkept, uncouth mystic. And so Rumi looks at Shams and he's like, you can't ever possibly know God because you can't even read. And he's showing all of his books. Shams looks at him and says, but God is not in that book. Rumi suddenly got it. God is not in that book. Why spend a single second reading books about God? God is not there. It just cracked him open. He fell off his donkey. And him and Shams became best friends, lovers of God, even. To the point where the story continues that Rumi's disciples were so jealous of Shams that it's suspected that they actually murdered him one day. And then Rumi was left alone, and this is why he starts whirling around the pole and giving his mystic poetry. But so why would that little realization crack open Rumi's soul to the point where he literally falls off his donkey? Whether he actually fell off his donkey or that is just symbolic, we don't know. Actually, it'd be way better if it was symbolic, because the donkey kind of symbolizes stupidity and fixedness, right? Donkeys are very stubborn and fixed. And he fell off of his stubbornness. He fell off of his fixedness. He fell off of his belief, no matter how beautiful that belief was. And it cracked open reality for him. Not only is God not in the book, God is not in your thoughts. And this is the most important point of Sufism or of mysticism to understand it all. God is not in the language that goes through your head, very specifically. That's the easiest, most succinct way to look at it. You have tons of language that goes through your head, just like a book. You can take the thoughts in your head and write them down in a book, right? If you can write that fast. It's kind of hard to do, but you can do it. You can sit there and you can have a thought and you can write it out. You can actually use writing to organize your thoughts and help move them forward. And you can use writing to solidify and freeze your thoughts into a point in time. That's not God. That's thoughts. That's not reality. And God and reality are really kind of the same thing. As a matter of fact, let's say they are the same thing, because what would be the difference? Reality and God. Finding God is literally dropping your fantasy so that then you're just suddenly there in the wide open field of reality. One of Rumi's poems is, they're out beyond all ideas of right and wrong. There is a field. I'll meet you there. That is him describing this reality of dropping out of book learning, thought learning, into what Sufis like to call heart learning. But it's really almost more like full body, full brain learning. Your entire being is intelligent. Your entire being is consciousness. The entire universe we live in is consciousness. The entire world we live in is consciousness. You might want to say in our story that the only thing that wasn't consciousness was the donkey that he fell off of. I like Tyson Yunkapura's description of the ego thing that we create, the donkey that Rumi fell off of. He says that from the very beginning of our lives, we are taught that there is a beautiful being inside of us. And so we split ourselves into two things. And then we take this beautiful being and we turn it into what we think is ourselves. And it's like a donkey riding on our shoulders. And then we spend our whole lives trying to make this donkey happy, trying to feed its insatiable desire for more and more and more. When the donkey can just fall off your shoulder and there you are, alive, real, living in reality as it is. So in a way, that's what happened to Rumi. One statement from Shams, and he saw that his whole life had been spent chasing a thing that wasn't real. Ideas in books, ideas in religion, ideas in philosophy, just ideas themselves aren't real. They're little pointers at reality, but them in themselves are not real. And boom, he saw it just that fast. And so why did Rumi fall off his donkey? Because he suddenly woke up. He saw an awake being, an awake human being in front of himself. And this is the most important moment in the spiritual search, when you actually see, hear, meet a living human being who is living without pretense, who is living real. It's a phenomenal moment because all of a sudden there's a crack, just that same crack that caused Rumi to fall off of his donkey. There's a crack that, oh, something different is possible. I remember when I met my teacher, it was a crack, just exactly like that. And the crack was that I was arguing just like Rumi. You can't possibly know God because you can't even read. I'm like arguing, and all of a sudden I just crack. I realized this person knows something that I don't know. They are in a state of being that I didn't even know was possible before that. And all of a sudden I see it. And if it was a fake thing, it wouldn't grab you like that. But because it's real and it's very, very simple, you can actually see the simplicity of it. And it's like, crack, this is possible. So unless you've had this crack that this is possible for you, then you haven't even taken step one on the spiritual path. So be out there looking for the awakeness that is all around you, because there are shams running around all over the place just waiting to grab the bridle of your donkey and say, God is not in a book. God is not in a YouTube video. You're sitting there watching this video and you are completely, totally alive. This is what caused Rumi to fall off his donkey. And until you have this full realization, don't get stuck. It's possible for anyone to fall into truth and reality.